everyone. I'm James Halloran, a nonprofit partner with James Moore, and this is part 2 or 3 in our SNAP video series on diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging for nonprofits. With me today is Corinne LaRoche, another not-for-profit partner here at James Moore, to continue the discussion. So what can an organization do if they're just getting started in this process and they want to know, how well are we doing in terms of DEI?
There's definitely several things you can do. The first thing I would do if you want to kind of get a benchmark for where you are right now is I would recommend surveying your employees and kind of saying, putting a questionnaire out there, kind of saying, how are we doing, and putting some different questions that they can address their experiences, and how they perceive the organization in different areas. I would also highly recommend doing that through a third-party survey if possible, because if the employees are responding directly to you or to the supervisors, they're probably not going to feel as comfortable being honest on that survey. Whereas if it's kind of proctored by a third party, and they get to remain anonymous, then you're more likely to get real feedback that can actually help you to make some actionable change. So I think that's a really good place to start.
Okay.
Another thing I would do is I would review your recruiting and hiring practices, maybe look over your policies and procedures manual, and just kind of see if it needs a refresh. A lot of those have kind of been collecting dust on the shelf and don't get looked at very often, and maybe they just need to be reworded or have some things added or taken out just to make them more relevant or more widely applicable to a diverse workforce. And then the last thing I would do is just to make sure that you have some type of training program in place, whether it's diversity training in general, or just specifically stating, what are our expectations as an organization of our employees? How do we want our employees to represent us in the workplace? How do we treat our clients, and everything like that? And just making sure that you're really setting the tone at the top of a culture of diversity and equity and inclusion.
So thinking about that top management team and leadership, is there specific things that they should be looking at to increase diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging in their organizations?
I think one of the biggest things that a top management team can do is try to create a sense of what we call psychological safety. And what that means is really creating a workplace where people feel comfortable bringing their authentic selves to work. And I think the best way to do that is, again, to kind of evaluate your workplace culture and to look for signs of microaggressions, or maybe have a third party come in and just observe and say, hey, here are some things that I see where maybe I would be uncomfortable if I was a woman and I overheard this, or if I was a person of color and I overheard this, or if I was a non-binary person and I saw this sign or something like that. I think if you can kind of set that tone and say, we're not just paying lip service to this. I think that sometimes can be the biggest challenge for upper management. Is it's easy to do the things that are performative, right? Like to put out a mission statement and to say in your mission statement that we are a diverse organization, or that we support diversity, or to have a training once a year, or things like that. But I think what's harder is to really do the work and say that, hey, we're committed to admitting that we may not be doing the best we can, but we are willing to learn and to grow, and we want to make this organization a safe space for everyone, and we want to maximize the potential of all of our employees, and we want to reach as many clients as possible. To your point, make the best use of our resources as possible, reach as many individuals as possible. And the best way for us to do that is by really diving deep into this culture of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Thanks, Corinne. That helps me understand it a lot better. Hopefully all our listeners as well.